Sasol put out a call for artworks for the sculpture garden at Sasol Place, and the brief was really very much for artists to start thinking about the role of Sasol as a company, but Sasol also actually in terms of the social responsibility that Sasol has towards society in general. We had about 5 artists that we engaged with, and the last one that we are actually installing today is the work by Lionel Smit called Reflections of Self. Lionel was chosen because he's one of South Africa's most significant artists at the moment, but also the work very much spoke to so many aspects of life and work in Sasol.
My work mostly evolves around the universal idea of who we are and our identities. I grew up sculpting quite a bit, and then I wanted to break away from that whole idea and kind of like rediscover myself. Discovered painting and painted for about 10 years after school and created a career. So I think when I started sculpting again, I had something to say and just recreate what I'm doing already in 2-dimensional form into 3-dimensional form. So I think I approached it from the point of view of the people that work for Sasol and the idea of this machine and the people as a workforce almost. I feel people always identify with the idea of looking at a face and the idea to create a whole bunch of faces that actually represent the people in Sasol, but also in a way represent us universally as a holistic idea. The sculpture is basically a cylinder of faces, and when you actually see them, there'll always be something you can connect yourself to. As you walk into the piece, it almost reflects the idea of the earth, in different levels, and the boulders you find underneath. There's this core of vibrancy and connection, and the silver on the outside comes almost like a clean slate, so that whole idea of the modern versus the earth that kind of like reflect each other is also part of the whole piece.
The inspiration comes from the physical act of mining, but it also actually engages with the whole idea of the people involved, not only the people inside the company, working for the company, but people that we are responsible for in terms of a wider society.
I think the piece has various layers. It's not supposed to be only one thing. The name also comes from the idea of reflecting yourself. So I wanted people to go to the sculpture, walk inside it, stand around, look at it, experience the sculpture rather just to view it and walk past. So that idea to conceptualize something that will work inside a space took me some time, and then eventually I started making sketches, and then eventually I came to making the scale model. But then executing that actual piece was quite a challenge because the sculpture was so big, and getting it into the building and all the technicalities surrounding that. So I actually cut the piece into 5 pieces and then reassembled it at Sasol again. So it became very site specific. It's going to take 2 days at least to install the sculpture. It's basically a team of about 10 people that are helping me today. 4 that came from Cape Town with me, and then another 6 that came from my father, who's also a sculptor, and we will put the whole sculpture together, and then we'll paint it the next day, do the patina on the work, and then it will be finalized. So yeah, it's quite a big operation.
I am so excited about this piece because I think it's going to take on a life of its own, to be able to go out into the gardens at Sasol, to just enjoy the art piece for what it is. What the artist is actually wanting people to do is to think about not only their own role, but also the way that they relate to other people, and that will really be actually so wonderful.